Just tell us something about that.
So I think there are many reasons why my mother wanted to take part in the railway project. I thought she found it intriguing, something different. I think it reached a different audience, a younger audience, also not in the United States. So I think there were a lot of intriguing aspects to, teaming up with a Scottish rock singer to do a song with her voicing the words at the selection platform. I think it was just different, reaching a new audience, younger audience, and European, Scottish. The idea of being that she wanted to try to get her workout messages, life lessons to a different audience.
Did she know anything?
Having been there and witnessed her working with Raymond at the selection platform, what was it like for her? I think, by that time, she had been involved with a variety of media opportunities. So this was just something a little different and unusual. I can remember, as you said, we met out here in the courtyard and we rode over in a car and talked, and she did a lot of laughing, and I think she really enjoyed his company, and I think that was one of the reasons she really wanted to meet him. People can kind of put on a front over the phone or on the internet or a text message, and she really thought he was very genuine and very kind and very caring, and I think that's what really was the reason that she really pursued this and continued to, work with Raymond, for last years of her life. So that day on the selection platform, and I remember holding an umbrella for her. It was very sunny and hot, and you could see in her eyes, having been around her my whole life, how much she really enjoyed the moment. And I remember taking a picture of her and Raymond with some kids that were there and that were just watching us film it. So I just think the uniqueness of it, the fact that she really found Raymond to be genuine and kind and caring and compassionate, and the fact that the two of them could reach a new audience, it really just gelled into producing a nice, not only a nice relationship, but a nice record. So Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue's the group. She was the Grand Marshal of the Indy 500 4 or 5 years ago, and we were on the red carpet. And before the race starts, you walk down the red carpet, and Jake Gyllenhaal is behind us. So you have all these celebrities, and so this guy comes kind of out of nowhere and has long hair and tattoos and torn jeans and earrings, all the things that my mom didn't really like. And he said, "Hey, baby, let's take a picture." And so she looks at me, and I kind of take a step back, and they take a couple pictures, and we get done. And he goes, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I shake his hand. I couldn't think who he was, and we're walking up the elevator to go watch the race. She goes, "Who was that?" I go, I'll find out. I know who he is." And so later, to answer your question about how did she come to really interact, become friends with Nikki Sixx, she tweeted him later and said, "Dear Mr. Sixx, it was nice to meet you on the red carpet. How can I become a rock star like you?" So a couple hours later, he responded, later admitting that he had to look her up as to why she was a Grand Marshal. And he said, "Eva, my dear, you've been a rock star your whole life." So that involved in the text messages, and then she ended up being on his radio show within the next 6 months, and I still keep in touch with him since my mom died. So
there would have come a point after.
My mom was very driven, to tell her story, and she was driven to try to make a difference. And I think, she would tell people in the last several years that, you should wake up every day and try to do one good thing for yourself or for mankind. And I think she took that to heart, and I think she wanted to, for her, there were no vacations. Friends of mine would say, "Well, when do your parents vacation to Florida?" I go, "What are you talking about? There's no vacation. She'll go to Florida to do a lecture, but she's not going to lay on a beach." He goes, and my friend said, "That's unbelievable." I said, "No, she hasn't been anywhere on vacation since we were like 10 years old. I mean, that was the last time we took a vacation." So I don't know where, I think the drive that she wanted to make a difference, and she recalled, whether it's being on the floor of the barracks crawling to find food, or the fact that when she was arrested, in the Capitol Rotunda in the late 80s, these events in her life, I think, would drive her and motivate her to make a difference in a positive way. And, she would, the last several years were very challenging, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, but she would always be, I'm going to take a couple hours nap and then I'm going to go do this lecture or whatever. And so she did have, incredible ability to turn it on when the camera went on or when she had to speak. And then 2 hours later, she'd be fast asleep. So, she had a lot of energy, but she knew how to get the most of what she had.
June of 2000 she'd come.
The June of 2019 trip, which spilled over into July, obviously, was very important. She, in January of a year ago today, she had heart surgery in Indiana, in Indianapolis. It was an emergency surgery, but we thought and felt and were told that if she didn't have the surgery, she was probably going to have a massive stroke eventually. And it took a lot longer for her to recuperate, but her motivation was that she was going to Auschwitz in June of 2019. And that was the end-all, be-all. And she had several setbacks that spring. She was back in the hospital in April. But, many times she would say, well, I got another 6 weeks for the trip, or I got plenty of time. So, no, that was a huge goal of hers, was to come back. And I think a lot of it was the fact that she just had a bad, experience from the surgery and then setbacks. And, the other thing that she didn't realize was to come here on January 27th in 2020 and give her speech. So that wasn't, obviously that didn't happen. So giving Raymond the Eternal Light Award in June of 2019 was something that meant a lot to my mom. She did not take that award very lightly, and so people that were chosen, were somebody or someone that had done something very significant in her eyes, either for candles, for the other Mengele twins, in some way touched her life. And this was not something that she just gave out to anybody. I don't know the exact count of how many Eternal Light Awards have been given out, but I do know that it was something that, she had a very strict standard for, and that, there were things that Raymond fulfilled in my mom's eyes, and of course in mine, that made him a very fitting recipient. There's no doubt currently when people think about my mother, a lot of times the next few words are, oh, she's the Mengele twin that forgave. And I have no problem with that. I think that's unique and that's special and different. But I also think that there were so many other things that my mom was involved in that a lot of people weren't aware of. For example, 8 to 10 years ago, she went back to Israel for the main purpose to help other Mengele twins, either financially or medically. And, there wasn't much fanfare regarding that. And she, I think she, bottom line, was a very kind person and somebody that, I would hope in moving forward, the legacy includes that she was a person of character, a person who was honest, a person who was very driven, somebody who, if she gave a person her word, that meant everything, that she wasn't going to back down. She could be trusted. And I think she's a great example for people, around the world that are struggling, that, need somebody to identify with, that need an idol, that need a person who's very goal-oriented. Over the last 6-7 months, I've met a lot of people that have said a lot of nice things, and they're great to hear, and hopefully they'll continue to, I'll be reminded of all the great things that my mom did. But I think for me, as long as my mom is remembered in a positive way with those qualities, I'll be very happy. Well, I think the song, The Impossible Dream, was very, captured my mom's life in so many ways that, here you have a 9, 10-year-old girl who's torn away from her mom, her parents, and survives with another twin, to all her life struggles. And a lot of people say that it's just impossible, that it would be a dream for her to be free. And when she was freed, January 27th, 1945, that was an impossible dream. And that throughout her life, she was met with challenges and met with adversity, and yet to bounce back. And every time somebody would knock her down, she'd get up. I think that goes along with the song "The Impossible Dream." For years she would tell my sister and I and my dad that this was her favorite song. And what made it very appropriate was the day before she died, that in front of the iconic Birkenau Tower gate, kind of out of the blue, a group of 30 teenagers from Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Children's Chorus, wanted to sing a couple songs that they prepared for my mom. This was not planned. This literally happened out of the blue. And as they're starting to sing their song that they wanted, she interrupted him and said, No, you stop. You sing my song. And the teacher said, Well, what is your song? And she said, The Impossible Dream, Man from La Mancha. Oh, some of the kids don't know it, Eva. I'll sing it, you follow. So she starts singing it, they follow, and they get through about 3/4 of it. And then they went on to sing their other songs. And I think that's why for Raymond to sing the song at the funeral was really fitting and appropriate. Sorry. So it was very moving. It was very moving to have Raymond sing the song. Sorry. So it was indeed very moving for me and my family and the people there to have Raymond sing the song. I'm not going to get through. Sorry.
Last question then,
Yeah.
Alex. This is the final one.
Yeah. So Indiana Blue, for me, was much more personal because it occurred after my mom died. And the video that goes along with it, is something that I'll cherish forever. I think for Raymond to write it after the funeral, and it's so special because it really captures, the words are so unique and they're so appropriate with, hopefully my mom being in heaven, and just the way he used the music, the beat, and the video is just, if I were to have a montage of a way to very creatively capture my mom's life and what she meant to one person, I would use that.